What's the problem with brushing aside racism? Well, everything really. Over the last few days, there's been a lot of hubbub in the community over whether or not the devs are acting racist towards their black characters. The reason why this was sparked was because of the fact that Storm finally had her summer skin revealed, and for some reason, she's the only female character of the entire summer event cast to not have a legendary. On top of the fact that, if we're being completely honest, the skin is extremely bare bones, and both the MVP and intro are just abysmal. This fiasco of a skin sparked a lot of people to get on NetEase's ass over how they specifically treat their black characters. And naturally, because of how passionate everyone is about this subject, it caused a lot of other people to start weighing in on their opinions, specifically bigger YouTubers and streamers. And if I'm being completely honest here, the number one commonality out of all of these takes is that they are basically just brushing aside the core issue. Now, look, first and foremost, we need to address an elephant in the room that nobody wants to acknowledge, and in this case, it's not actually Storm. The first and most important one is that you can absolutely be racist without necessarily having ill intentions behind said racism, and you can be extremely polite and outwardly nice while actually being the biggest piece of shit on the planet. In fact, I'm pretty sure they made an entire movie about that concept. The fact of the matter is, regardless of how you personally feel on the matter, this is not the first time that something like this has happened with the black characters in Marvel Rivals. There's an entire list of things that NetEase has done and fumbled with. Storm and Black Panther have shifted their spots on the tier lists a few times throughout the game's lifespan, but for the most part, they have not been very good, with Black Panther in particular being a character that they just do not want to address in any meaningful capacity. Then, whenever Blade came out, he was completely and totally dogshit for almost the entire game's lifespan. The reason why he was so bad was because of the fact that the devs stated that they didn't particularly want him to be too strong. As we all know, Daredevil, white character, then came out a month later and was one of the most broken DPS in the entire game, to the point where we're still kind of feeling the effects of just how powerful he was. Like, if you go back to the time that Daredevil came out, people were talking about it like they were having PTSD from this man. However, there's also been a bunch of other stuff that isn't nearly as in your face as what I've already discussed. Storm, Black Panther, and Blade not getting a single Disco skin during the 8th anniversary of Luna fucking Snow for some reason, despite the fact that Disco is heavily rooted within black culture as a whole, 3 sets of wedding skins being released, and of course the only 2 characters of this theme who don't have legendaries are the black characters. Just basically everything surrounding Moon Girl, and then probably the most egregious one, apart from the incident, is that NetEase decides to make an entire season centered around Egypt, and not only do Storm and Black Panther not get a single Egyptian-themed skin, despite the fact that both of these characters have very heavy ties to this country, but the characters who do get these Egyptian-themed skins, for the most part, are extremely racist and tasteless caricatures of Egyptian culture and imagery. Like, the moment I saw Punisher with this skin, I immediately thought of this meme. But as if all of that was bad enough, Storm and Black Panther aren't even in any way, shape, or form involved in the story taking place in a country that is extremely important to them. Hell, there's a mural of the X-Men fighting Apocalypse, and for some reason, Storm is just completely absent. Was she just, like, off getting a fucking burger or something while her home country was being destroyed? And none of this is even talking about the fact that all of the black characters have had slimmer and slimmer pickings on skins for the last few seasons. All of these things in isolation might be able to be brushed off, but this is everything together, and it really does not paint a good picture for these developers. Now, I will give them their flowers that after the community raised a massive stink, including some of them going just a little bit too far, they agreed to change the skin to a legendary with free alt VFX and also the price of a normal epic skin. Both of these things are good. However, I think the main problem is the amount of defense that people are trying to run for this company and their bad practices. Can we definitively, without a shadow of a doubt, prove that NetEase is racist, and that they are intentionally treating their black characters poorly? Well, no, but people need to stop pretending as though there isn't an extremely obvious pattern right in front of our eyes. And one particular defense that I want to shut down right now before it even happens is the pick rate. Yes, Storm in particular has one of the lowest pick rates in the game, but that doesn't fucking matter, and anybody who tries to tell you that pick rate is in any way, shape, or form an influence over skin distribution is intentionally lying to both themselves and you. Psylocke has consistently had one of the lowest pick rates in the entire game, and yet she gets skins all the time. Magic also has a comically low pick rate, and yet despite this fact, she has gotten 2 legendaries in the past 2 months. Black Cat has had one of the lowest pick rates in the game for a while, and yet, somehow, with this swimsuit, she's already on her 2nd legendary despite being released 3 months ago. And lastly, across both console and PC, the highest pick rate that Wanda has is 5%. Despite this, not only did she just get a legendary, but she also got another epic skin. Black fucking Widow was considered the worst character in the entire game, and yet she got a legendary swimsuit skin. They planned these skins months in advance, especially since it apparently takes 8 to 9 months just for them to make an epic skin. Their words, not mine. People need to stop dismissing others whenever they try to call out a pattern of very fishy behavior in relation to characters who aren't white. If anything, running defense for NetEase like this actually halts progress rather than helping it. Now, the last thing that I'll touch on the subject is that I do realize that it might not even be NetEase's fault, although we can't entirely say for sure, but NetEase has revealed recently that they have to go to Marvel for basically every decision in regards to the game. And in case you've been living under a rock, Marvel's current CEO is a massive racist douchebag. However, I still think this explanation does not entirely absolve NetEase. Stop dismissing what is very clearly right in front of you.